Here are 3 most common mistakes I see on UX design portfolios and the ones you would want to fix right away. A little bit about myself. I'm currently a senior product designer and I have been in this industry in the past 6 years. Also, I have been in many UX design interviews as both interviewers and interviewees. And on top of that, I've been providing mentorship to many designers, whether they're looking for their first job or want to move to their next role. And things I'm sharing today are based on a lot of UX design portfolios I have been reviewing inside and outside of work. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into it. Common mistake number 1, sharing generic traits as your strength. So this mistake is something I see very often in both portfolios and resumes. I've seen a ton of portfolios that say, I'm a user-centric UX designer, or I'm a detail-oriented UX designer, or I built very seamless user flow. So, okay, the reason this can't be your strength is because they're just bare minimum. Literally every single person who applies to this role will have that traits. It means that it's the minimum bar you have to pass, not something that's gonna make you stand out. And as someone who reviews the portfolio, when I see it, I'm like, oh, okay, so your strength is my bare minimum, which means that I don't know how I should feel about your strengths. So then now we have to think about how to find the right keywords that you can claim as your strength and something that's actually going to make you stand out. So the question you have to answer for me is, why should you get hired over all other candidates in the market? As I mentioned in the last video, we all know this UX design job market is extremely competitive, which means that you really have to stand out. And if you're still in this market, that means that you believe that you should get hired instead of someone. So please answer my question. What makes you think that you should get hired instead of all other people who are competing against you? Again, don't use the keywords like you're user-centric, detail-oriented, user-obsessed, customer first, customer-centric, or things like that. Excluding those keywords, give me the answer. Why should you get hired over everyone else? The answer you give me here includes your special strengths. Okay, on that note, let's look into some of the good examples I found. This first example says they're a system-driven product designer with a passion for spatial experiences and MR interactions. I like that they use the keyword system-driven because it makes me think they know how to see the big picture and are really good at systems thinking. And since they highlight their experience in mixed reality, that makes me think they must have worked on many new technology-related projects such as virtual reality or augmented reality. So if I'm able to see many projects related to that on this portfolio, this is going to be a huge plus. The second example more focuses on their background, which is a perfect example for anyone who wants to transition into product design from other industries. They are a product designer with a nanotech background. They approach design like a scientist, curious, precise, and always experimenting. They still study chemistry, just between people and products. Wow, this is very beautifully written. What's important here is that they're not using their past background in another industry as just their history, but something that makes them special as a designer. Because just reading these 3 sentences, it makes me think they must be really good at experimenting, which is the process we all take in product design. I actually have a background in biochemistry too. If you're also looking to switch your career to product design, think of a way to frame your past experience as what makes you special. The one we just looked into is a perfect example. And when I introduce myself and I want to mention something related to biochemistry, I say I used to study biochemistry before and I learned how to analyze data more objectively and how to learn from experiments that didn't go in a way we planned. So in my last video, I talked about you should check out 1,000 UX design portfolios to build your eyes and taste. And the same for this quick intro part. Check out at least 1,000 examples and then analyze what are the ones you like versus you don't like. While you're doing it, you can also collect what other people do and what you like about it, and they all become the reference that you can refer back to, and that will spark some ideas for you to brainstorm on what are your actual strengths are. Okay, let's go to the second most common mistake, which is about treating each step like a checklist. When what I mean by this is in design process, you usually go through multiple steps. So the process itself is pretty standardized, which is good for you to follow that. But then what I'm calling out is you just talk about each step without explaining why you decided to do each step. So a lot of things what I see is, this is the problem, this is the competitive analysis, and this is the user research. That's it. There's no story. Then when I review that, what makes me think is like, okay, this person is just following the process, but they don't think about why they really need it or the values they got out of it. What you have to do here to avoid this mistake is clearly calling out what you learned from each step. So let's say it could be like, this is a problem you define, and to solve that problem, why you decided to do the competitive analysis. What insights did you need from the market and from other competitors that's going to inform your design process? And let's say another example, after doing competitive analysis, you decide to do some user research. And then what you have to tell me is, these are the things you learned from competitive analysis, and then what informed you to decide to do some user research. And even for user research too, there are a ton of different user research methods you could do. Quantitative, qualitative, and even in that, there are a lot of different ways for you to gather different insights. And don't just tell me you decided to talk to 5 users. There's no rationale behind it, but tell me for XYZ reasons, these are the things you really needed to learn from the users. That's why you decided to run moderated user interviews with this many participants. And also tell me why you decided to do 5 participants versus 15 participants. As you explain the intention, your plan, and the outcome, and then why you decided to move on to the next step, that's how you form the entire story. And that's what makes me think that you're a designer who's able to run the entire design process with clear intention behind each step, rather than treating each step as a simple checklist you have to go through. Then why does this intention matter so much? I would say intentionality is one of the key traits that product designers or UX designers really should have. And this intentionality is not only about how you make every single design decisions, but also about how you run the project. The reason is, in some companies, especially when it's B2B or less design-centered organizations, sometimes you'll be asked to do design without any user insights. That sometimes happens when the team is out of budget or really tight on time. And there, what you have to do as a designer is to convince the team why you really need this user research. Every single minute you spend at a company is money, and you have to convince your team and the company why every single step matters so much and how it's going to help you create the design solution informed by user insights and data and bring the impact the team is looking for. So again, that's why I'm really looking for clear intention behind every single step on your portfolio. Number 3 most common mistake, not having measurable outcomes. Think about it, the reason the companies hire you is to drive certain outcomes they're looking for. So if you only share on your portfolio about how your beautiful design ended up looking, that's not helping me see how you're going to bring value to the team. So what you have to do is always measure your solution. That means that you should know what are some key success metrics of your project. A lot of times that includes primary metrics, secondary metrics, and guardrail metrics. Here, what I mean by guardrail metric is the metrics that really should not go down. Every product is very complicated, which means that whenever you launch a feature with your team as a designer, that means that that might negatively affect the rest of the areas of the product. And by sharing these guardrail metrics beyond primary and secondary metrics that you and your team pursue, that shows how you're able to do systems thinking, which is a very critical skill as a product designer or a UX designer. I see what questions you come up with here. What if you don't have any metrics? This can happen when either it's your passion project or you worked with an actual team, but somehow you didn't have a chance to measure it, or you could have left the org before the team started measuring these metrics. In these cases, still no excuse. You still have to tell me how you plan to and want to measure the metrics. Again, the reason I want to see these metrics on your portfolio and case study is to see whether you're able to gauge the outcome of your project and to see if you're able to think beyond the designs and screens itself. So if you don't have any actual metrics from the project, that's okay. You have to share what types of metrics you want to measure, how you're going to collaborate with your team on that, and why you believe that measure is going to represent the outcome of the project. That's how you tie every single case study on your portfolio to measurable outcomes. And that's it. By fixing these mistakes on your portfolio, you're increasing the chance of hiring managers seeing your strengths and landing actual interviews. I appreciate many of you who left comments in my previous video that sparked ideas for me to work on this video. So again, if you have any ideas for me to cover in my next video, please leave them in the comments. I'll check them out and make videos about it. Your likes, subscribes, and comments help this video reach the right audience just like you. Okay, I'll see you in my next video and good luck on updating your UX design portfolio. See you, bye!